Hello, hello, my love. I hope this finds you doing so well. Welcome to this week's Tenderoni Hotline. And thank you to Billy, who gave me that amazing name for this new segment. If you're enjoying it, let me know. Give the show a 5-star rating and review. Holler on Instagram. And hey, if you haven't picked up your copy of End Emotional Outsourcing, my new book, I'd be so grateful if you did. We are in this really critical first few months after publication where you tell the publisher that you want more feminist work. You want more feminist takes on old tropes like codependency, perfectionism, and people pleasing. You want more work in this really challenging time that's more compassionate, caring, and loving. If you want this book to end up in your public library and you've got the money to buy it, I really want to encourage you to pick a copy or 12 up now. This isn't about me making more money. That's not, I don't make more money if you buy a copy. What does happen is that the book is more likely to actually get printed again and actually end up in more bookstores and libraries where it can help the people who need it most, which is the reason I spent the last 5 years writing it. So if you are able, I'd be so grateful if you bought the book, left a review on Amazon and Goodreads. You don't have to buy it there. Grateful, grateful. All right, that's enough out of me. Let's get to your questions. So Grace, age 24, from Boston, writes, my roommate pointed out that I say sorry before almost every sentence. Sorry, can I ask you something? Sorry, do you have a minute? Sorry, I was just wondering. Sorry, that's my pizza. I wasn't going to share that. I didn't even realize I was doing it until she mentioned it. Now I hear myself doing it constantly and it's driving me bonkers. Why do I apologize for existing? Oh, mittens. Okay, so maybe because somewhere along the line, you, like so many of us, learned that taking up space was an imposition, especially for human socialized as women. We are often taught, both directly and indirectly, that our needs, our voice, our presence is a problem and requires an apology. So this often starts in childhood. Maybe you had a parent who was easily annoyed, who was easily bothered, who viewed your needs, because kids have a lot of needs, as a burden, as like demanding. And so you learned, very smartly, I might add, to apologize preemptively to soften the blow. Maybe also, like so many of us, you were told you were too much, too loud, too needy, too sensitive. So you did what anyone told they were too much would do. You became less. You started shrinking yourself and apologizing for the parts of you that wouldn't shrink. Like, I'm so sorry, but I have to pee, right? Like, you can't not pee, so apologize for it. Right? Or maybe you grew up in a house where manners were everything, and you were taught that being polite meant making yourself small. Again, women, especially in my experience, get socialized into this. We are taught very directly that asserting ourselves is not just us taking up space like any other mammal, but it's aggressive. That asking for things is demanding, right? That having needs makes us a problem, makes us burdensome, makes us a bother. And so we apologize. We apologize for asking questions, for having feelings, for friggin' being in the room, for like taking up oxygen, for having a body, for being. And so the sorry before every sentence can be a totally subconscious, because I don't think you're actually meaning to do this clearly, right? But it could be a preemptive sort of submission that signals, hey, I'm not a threat. I'm not taking up too much space. Please don't be mad at me. Please don't hate me. I'm small. Don't worry. It could also be a nervous system strategy to avoid conflict before it even starts, right? Especially if growing up conflict was like not okay, or if you feel like you don't have the skills to sit with conflict, be with conflict, and like hold it in a way that can feel safe in your nervous system and your body. Well, I mean, again, how freaking brilliant are you to try to like push all conflict away at all costs if the cost of actually allowing the conflict is way too high? So what might actually help, let's get to the remedies, is noticing it when it happens and replacing it. And as always in my work, notice I didn't say catching it. And, sometimes with the semantics, English is my second language. And I also, to brag, I'm a human with ADHD. I know I'm neuromagical. Thank you. But I hear like every word, right? And so catch to me, agarrar, like there's like you did something wrong is written into that. There's like a little spritz of blame and shame. And so I don't like the word in this context, right? Wait, Elizabeth Albina, my wife and my cat, Billy and my cat, escaped the other day. I caught him hard, right? Because he was a sneaking out little baby. He's also, if you're new to my world, he is all black and he got out at like 9 p.m. Oh, I caught him real quick. But that's the thing. He was being naughty and doing something that was dangerous. So he needed to be caught. So, and I'm bringing this up, I'm elaborating on this point because I think it's germane to the conversation, right? If you think you're doing something wrong and bad by simply existing and being, and so you're sorry all the time when you didn't do anything wrong and you're not even Canadian, don't think of your self-love, self-care, growth work as catching yourself. Because what are you doing? You're just strengthening the story that you're wrong and bad, right? That's why I came up with the term emotional outsourcing to replace I am codependent. Because that's saying you are a wrong and bad, right? Instead, we just have habits and we notice them. Okay, so back to the remedies. Notice when you say it. Notice when you feel that urge and begin to replace it. So notice when you say, sorry, can I ask you something? And you can pause and say, I meant to say, hey, can I ask you something? And some people will notice that you're doing that and will think it's weird. Okay. But that's the work, to be okay with that. And so that's going to be uncomfortable at first too, but that's the work, right? So when you hear yourself, oh, sorry to bother you. What I meant was, do you have a minute? And as you notice it, begin to replace it. And if replacing it out loud feels like, whoa, a bridge too far, that's cool. Just replace it in your own head, right? Just replace it within yourself and work up to taking up space without apologizing for it. And I want to note, this might feel really rude at first and your body might panic a little bit, but you're not being rude. You are simply existing without apologizing for it. And I want you to know that that's allowed. That's okay. You don't have to apologize for everything you do. I want to invite you to notice and have awareness of the men in your world. It's pretty rare for most of them to apologize. And if you're a dude listening and you're like, but I over apologize. Okay, baby. This advice is for you too, but notice other dudes, right? The average bear doesn't apologize that much. He just does what he needs because that's what he was socialized and conditioned to do and how he was socialized and conditioned to be. All right. Thank you for that question, my love. All right. Next question. Cameron, age 30 in Austin, Texas, writes, my leg will suddenly jerk or my arm will twitch or my whole body will do this little shudder. It seems to happen randomly multiple times a day and it's been going on for years, sometimes a lot, sometimes pretty rarely. It's not painful, it's just weird and kind of embarrassing when it happens. My doctor said it's probably stress related, but that didn't really explain what's going on. Is my body just glitching? Is there something wrong with me? Okay, so first, I'm so glad that you talked to your doctor about this. Random twitches and jerks can have medical causes, the medical etiology. So it's super important to rule those out first. And I don't know what kind of an experience you had with your doctor, if you felt really listened to and cared for and believed, and like, if you feel like you got a proper workup and were then told it's stress related, then let's rock and roll with it being stress related. And that's what I'm going to continue from that belief that it's stress related. But I want to invite you to sit with it, especially if you're a woman. I don't know, Cameron, but we know that women are not believed in medicine overarchingly. That's a very big statement, but it's evidence to back it up. For example, it takes the average woman on average 7 to 10 years to be diagnosed with endometriosis because we are not believed. I myself was not believed or helped with my GI issues for many, 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 many years. So think back to your experience. If you felt believed, if you felt listened to, if you feel like you got a proper workup, cool. If not, get another opinion. Get another opinion. Just get another opinion. Okay? All right. So let's rock and roll with it as stress related, right? So one possibility is that your body's trying to discharge stored tension. And so it's doing it in little bursts throughout the day because that's the easiest way to shift it out versus starting to shake your whole body in the middle of a meeting, right? Right. So when you hold stress in your body, so clenched muscles, shallow breathing, that constant low level activation that so many of us feel, that energy needs somewhere to go. So sometimes it could release as twitches or jerks. Your body might be hitting the release valve for a second before clamping back down. And so this can be common in folks who don't have a regular way to discharge stress or let it move. So if you're not moving much, not crying, not shaking things out, not doing anything that allows your nervous system to complete the stress activation cycle, which we talked about, in episode 2, 3, 4, 5, very early on in the podcast in 2019, then that tension that you've been holding can sort of leak out, as it were, in these involuntary movements. Muscle twitches can also be related to magnesium deficiency, dehydration, too much caffeine, insomnia. So those are also worth checking into. But if it is stress related, one thing that might help is giving your body intentional ways to be with and release stress. So shake your body for 60 seconds a few times a day. Stretch, go for a walk, particularly a walk where you're how do you call that? When you move your arms back and forth. So what you're doing is bilateral stimulation, right? Left arm, right arm, swinging. My English is pretty good, but sometimes some random words, my brain's like, you just don't need that word. So swinging your arms left and right, left and right. You can do progressive muscle relaxation where you tense and release each muscle group. I like to do it from my feet all the way up. Through these practices, you're giving your nervous system permission, as it were, to discharge the buildup in an intentional way so it doesn't have to leak out in random twitches. The twitches might also be your body's way of saying, I'm holding too much, help me let it go. And so yeah, it's a beautiful thing to start to dance more often, to move more often in really thoughtful ways, and to really take a look at, there's some stress right now, like the state of the world, that's not going to change. And learning somatic tools, body-based tools, nervous system-based tools, and things like thought work to help you process all of that can be incredibly helpful. The entire second half of my book, End Emotional Outsourcing, walks you through the remedies of thought work and somatic practices and gives you lots of great tools. Pick a copy up today from the retailer of your choice or get it from the library, but check it out. It's really helpful. And I have lots of episodes of this show all about how to help our big emotions, tension, stress move through the body. All right, my love, thank you so much for joining me for this week's Tenderoni Hotline. If this was helpful, make sure that you've subscribed to the show, followed the show, given it a 5-star rating and review. And if you'd like me to answer your question, send it on over. podcast@beatricealbina.com. We'll get to my mailbox. And I'm so excited to get you on the show. Let's do what we do. Gentle hand on your heart should you feel so moved. And remember, you are safe. You are held. You are loved. And when one of us heals, we help heal the world. Be well, my beauty. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.